Hello. Welcome to Meet the Author, sponsored by Author Event Network in partnership with Bremerton Public Access Television. I'm your host, Guy Morris. Author Event Network is a nonprofit association of local authors who sign books at local festivals, fairs, and events. Our guest today is Lya Badgley. Hi,
hey.
Lya. How are you?
Very well.
I'm so excited to have a chance to interview you today.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
You're a wonderful part of our group. Always a joy to be selling with you in the booth. We're going to have a lot of fun.
We are.
Well, let's start with the basics.
Okay.
What inspired you to become an author? It's not like it's a high-paying career. It's not like there's a lot of profile and recognition and fame. What would inspire
Wait a minute.
you? What?
What?
Are you in the wrong group?
I'm in the wrong business. So that's
this is all the elephants on the table. We're being real here. Yeah.
I think that anyone who begins to write does so because they have to write.
Yeah.
And then that unfolds as it unfolds for each of us in a different way. But I think, like most writers, I started out as a reader. I grew up living in many, many places around the world, and when you're always the outsider, you develop a certain kind of skill set that we tuck away into our toolbox that we draw on later, and find that as writers, this is why I learned that. At least that's been my sort of path with the craft of writing. But yeah, traveling around, when you're not the cool kid, when you're the outsider, when you're in the corner watching everybody, be themselves, we have to be quiet, we have to listen, we have to find ways to insert ourselves and to fit in. And I think that those are really good tools for writers.
Yeah. No, excellent point. So that makes me want to ask a little bit more question about what were some of those experiences that prompted you the most to say, I need to write about this?
Well, I have been blessed or cursed, depending on one's perspective, to have a very unusual life. Obviously, I'm no spring chicken, so when you live a long time, you get to do lots of interesting things, or you can choose to do lots of interesting things. I grew up, I was born overseas. My dad was an academic, and so I just by my birth, being in what was then called Burma, and then living in many different places all across the United States and the world, I had all kinds of strange things happen. My books are, so people told me that I should write a memoir, and I always thought, I don't want to do that because I lived in interesting things, in interesting places, but that doesn't mean I was an interesting person in those places. So my books are basically set in places where I lived and worked, but then I get to go from there. So that's the seed. It's the root, if you will, grounded in a place, and then I get to go from there. So one book, yes, I opened a restaurant in Rangoon, Burma, but I didn't do all the other stuff that my character does. So that's the fun thing about being an author, right? It's that we get to we're always us as our protagonists in a way, right? And unless, even if we're writing fantasy or science fiction, I would, argue that most authors are writing about themselves in a way. And then we get to do all the stuff that we don't get to do in real life in our books.
So that's a wonderful way of putting it. I've always said that we get to reveal ourselves through the guise of a character.
Very well said, yeah.
So what genres did you choose to write from all those experiences, and why did you choose that genre?
Well, I didn't choose a genre. I chose the stories. And I am a bit of a rebel. Oh, surprise. And I don't my books don't fit into traditional genres. So I guess I'm a hybrid writer or a cross genre or whatever. It just gets so confusing. So when I talk to people, I say I write literary suspense. So my books are plot-driven character studies set in unusual places. So that doesn't really fit into a genre.
Yeah.
You know, genres have rules. You know, if you write fantasy or even thrillers, which is what you do, there are certain things that readers expect. And if you say I write, you know, fantasy, and then you don't fulfill those requirements, your readers are going to not like you very much, and they're not going to buy your books. So you have to manage the expectations of your readers in advance, so they know when they pick up the book what they're going to read. And that's really hard for me to do.
Yeah.
In my sort of messy, I just do this for the passion and for the story, which is kind of stupid. And if I wanted to make money at this, I should pick a lane and stick to it. But I'm just too much of a rebel to do that.
You know, I think as authors, just as filmmakers, just as musicians, any artists, we have an obligation to know the basic rules, and then there's always the creativity of knowing when we want to intentionally break them.
Yep.
Or ignore them.
Yep.
Because the rules are really targeted towards people who really don't know how to tell a good story, and they're being guided.
Oh,
and once you really can tell a good story, you can
about that. Yeah.
you can elaborate a little bit, you can twist off, you can do things a little experimental, and it still can work if your character and the plot work together. And I actually love it when people don't follow all the rules.
Well, you have to have a certain amount of craft, right? You can't be a crappy writer,
Exactly.
you know? I mean, so there are rules to writing a compelling sentence.
Yes.
There are rules about that. But beyond that, I'm not gonna, I can't fit into a genre.
And there's a lot of best practices and good rules and lessons and, you know, master classes, and everybody has their view of what the perfect novel looks like.
Yeah.
Mine don't fit any of those parameters, but yet I keep winning awards, and you keep getting attention and sales, and so it tells me that just like the best films, the best artists are always the ones who break out by doing most of what they should, but experimenting in unique ways that make them unique, and that's what readers want.
Well, we want a different
voice.
voice. We want to find a voice.
Right? They don't want to read the same stuff over and
Some
over
people
and
do.
over.
And
Oh yeah, forget about them. Oh
yeah. But
I don't write for them.
Well, right? Who do we write for? So I would, when I talk to, when we're in the booth, a lot of people come to me and say, how did you start writing? And can you, give me advice and all of that? And so I always tell people, well, what's your intention as a writer? What is it you want to accomplish? Do you want to make a career? Do you want to make money? Then that's great. That's one path. Or do you just have a passion in your heart about particular stories? Or do you just want to learn about yourself? I mean, they're all really good reasons for going into becoming a writer, but they're all very different. And I think you can, so I would encourage anybody starting out as a writer to kind of try and do a little deep dive into what does that mean for them to be a writer, and what do they want to accomplish? What's their intention, motivation, and then go from there. But,
I don't think I could have been a writer in my 20s. I didn't really know what I had to say yet.
Yeah.
I was still trying to figure that out.
Well, I was making music, so that was a whole different world.
I was trying to learn how to make a living.
Well, me too. But I was doing both.
So that actually is a great segue into the next question, which is, what do you consider the main themes of your book?
Once again, so there are themes that fit into, genres, but okay, I'm going to take the literary fiction sort of path now. My main theme is moral ambiguity.
Ambiguity.
So that just came into my mind. I don't know where it came from.
That's intriguing. Okay.
But the idea that in all of us, so in my stories, it's usually an American woman. She goes far away to another country, another culture, she's running away from something, only to find that you can't run away. No matter how far you go, you're taking yourself with you. And so you have to deal with those issues wherever you are. And along the way, hopefully you learn something, and you have this thing called a character arc. But I think that my themes are ultimately, I explore history. My stories are grounded in a real time and in a real place where real historical, I think, important things are happening. And that's sort of the wallpaper, if you will, of the room of where my characters are experiencing the story. And having that sort of historical grounding, but yet the imagination and dealing with, inherited trauma, either personal or cultural, all of those are themes in my stories.
Excellent. Those are compelling themes. And I love history and those kind of character dramas. What is it? Tell us a little bit about the primary set of characters, and what kinds of character arcs. You mentioned the character arc that they have to go through something. Give us we don't want any spoiler alerts, but give us a little example about who they are.
I kind of referenced earlier. I mean, basically, I write about women who are usually they have some wound or damage, be it physical, or emotional, that they're trying to either heal themselves or run away from or whatever, but they need to turn the page on their life, and they're going someplace far away to try and have that happen. And then while they were there, weird stuff happens, and usually there's a little sort of supernatural element or crazy stuff happening that triggers their process. And it are the challenges that they have to meet, the task that they have to accomplish to be able to move forward, in their process of whatever it is. And usually, well, not all of my books, but most of them, they start with a wound and they end up with, if not complete healing, at least understanding more about the nature of the wound. Because usually there's a misunderstanding. We don't understand. We think we know we're broken, but we don't know why. So learning about the ways in which we're broken is sometimes almost, is as important as actually healing from whatever the break is.
And sometimes be just as painful.
Well, I didn't want to say that because everyone's different, but exactly.
Exactly. So I realize that we're all, as authors, we all put part of ourselves in there. Is there any part of that you want to reveal about yourself?
Well, I am physically broken. I mean, I was diagnosed with MS in 1987, and so I'm disabled, and I mean, I went blind, right? And I was a performer. I was touring with a band. I was putting out albums, and doing all of that, and then went blind over, the period of a couple of weeks. And that's like pretty significant when you're a young, woman. And I don't know, what was it? This was like 120 years ago. So,
I feel that way. I understand that.
Well, but back then they didn't know much about MS at all. Basically I was told, okay, don't get pregnant. You're going to be in a wheelchair, in 2 years, and you'll probably be dead in 10. I mean, that's how much they knew about it, right? And I said, screw you to the doctors and to everybody. And that gave me this like crazy freedom to, freedom, but courage of, okay, if I'm going to be dead, I have this incurable disease, no one knows anything about it. I'm just going to go and take door number 3. I'm going to go down the path that people say, don't go there, that's scary. So I did all the scary things, and I took the scary paths. And so that that was my experience.
Yeah.
Obviously came out on the, I mean, I still can't walk for very well, but and have issues, but that was me.
Yeah.
And that's the people in my story.
That's-
So I write my story over and over again, but with different flavors and different locations, with different wallpaper, if you will, and with different endings.
I like the wallpaper idea. So that brings me to your latest book, the 35th page.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, that genre is a bit different. I'm really leaning heavily into speculative, and so this book is set in Myanmar or Burma, as it used to be called. This book is set in Cambodia. Both places lived and worked. And that book is set in Bosnia. Now, I have not lived in Bosnia, but my husband is from the Balkans, and so I visit there quite a bit. So I do have some lived experience there. But this is arguably almost like a Balkan fairy tale kind of redone in a way.
Oh, interesting.
So if you there's a famous medieval manuscript called the Sarajevo Haggadah, and there was a best-selling book written about it, and by Geraldine Brooks. Senior moment, called People of the Book, which is a fabulous book. And so I have my American gal, a little broken, goes to Sarajevo to study, research it, and she happens to be there right at the onset of the war in 1992.
Okay.
So while she's doing her research, she's discovering odd things within this ancient manuscript and not knowing what it is. And it may or may not be a curse, and it may or may not be seeds of violence that were literally put into the actual manuscript. And so that's the plot reveal throughout the story. So that's in 1992, the war breaks out, she escapes, and then she comes back because an actual new page has appeared in this manuscript. And how can that be? And is that the curse coming alive or whatever? So anyway, that's my leaning into speculative fiction. Had so much fun writing it.
Very much. I do speculative fiction a lot. I love it. It's so much fun to build on facts and just throw in one little teeny twist, and that could really kind of change it all. That sounds absolutely mesmerizing, I think. And I think you're going to be very successful with that one.
Thank you.
I think readers love those.
Yeah, end of the month. So that's coming out on the 28th of this month.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I wanted to... So who do you think your target audience is? If you had to identify your perfect reader,
my perfect reader would be a person who wants to explore a new culture while at the same time having an emotional experience. So a cultural and an emotional experience.
Excellent.
And so I would say that I can see people walk by and I can know, yes, yes. So as you know, we've been in the booth together, and I see people go by and I can grab them, and if I can talk to them, usually they'll buy my book.
Yeah, it's if you can engage them in a conversation, that's usually a pretty good sign. It's not 100%, but it's if they're interested in your genre and they're interested to have the conversations and ask the questions, that's typically.
But we as salespeople, right? We have to make that instant
eye contact.
Instant I'm not gonna. You don't want to talk to me. I don't want to talk to you. Kind of determination as people walk by.
Yeah, and that's true too. And I think covers can draw people in. I think the fact that some people or love to read, love to explore all of the authors in the booth, and so it gives each of us a chance to find our own little niche of how we. Well,
you've done a super good job of having all different kinds of genres represented in the booth. So generally, there can be you write one kind of thriller. There's thriller elements to my books, but we have completely different readers.
Yeah.
So it's never we're like to one another.
Yeah. Well, we have time for one more question. And I wanted to kind of figure out how I want to do this. What do you love most about being an author? If you had Dan Brown kind of money, what is it about being an author that really pulls you in and makes you want to go out and talk to people about your books?
So those are different things.
Okay.
Okay, so writing a story is because it's like writing a song or a poem or something, and it's this niggle in me that won't go away, and it's in my heart, and I love that, and I will do that whether people buy the book or not. I will do that. I will continue to do that whether I sell books or not. But if I had Dan Brown's money or even a little bit of Dan Brown's money, I would hire an assistant. I would hire someone. I would hire someone to manage the marketing and the social media and all of that. I'm an old lady. Social media is not my friend, and that's how you sell books now, or how many people sell books. Not everybody, but many people. And by sell books, I mean make a living selling books.
Right.
And that will never be me.
Yeah.
And I'm resigned to that. But
I understand that as well. And I go through the same thing. If I had to pick one thing, is I love to write. I feel compelled to write. But then the whole selling and marketing is like, isn't there somebody else?
But the thing that you've invented, which you haven't, but that you've created for us other authors to participate in, is so marvelous, and I'm so grateful for it. Is the opportunity? One, we make more money when we sell our own books, but just that connection with the reader, and to have people come back and go, oh, I read your book, I want your next one, and oh, that story was so meaningful to me because of XYZ.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh, those moments, I'm going to tear up right now thinking about how meaningful those moments are. Yeah. And if you sell books online, you don't know that.
You never see that.
You get those reviews, and it's not the same as that person standing in front of you trembling,
Yeah, it's... You put it so perfectly, I could never have out. That's actually perfect of how we do. Yeah. Lya, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oops, sorry. I'm sorry, I'm banging my mic. Yes, sorry about that.
It's been a joy to talk to you.
Thank you, Guy.
Wonderful. And thank you for watching Meet the Author. Come to meet all the AEN authors during the summer and holiday season in Seattle and Portland, and keep on reading.